The 2020 NHL season was cut short on March 12th due to COVID-19. This was just a day after the NBA suspended their season, and all other professional sports leagues would soon follow suit. It was a weird time, and it's been a weird time. There weren't many cases around the world mid-March, and yet everything started to get canceled. This left people in fear and shock around what was going to happen. We saw through the toilet paper incidents, as so much was still unknown. I think that even if you aren't a sports fan, this was a huge moment seeing everything canceled, because now we knew that this was for real and that things may never be the same. But moving on, fast forward to end of July, COVID was old news. We were tired of hearing about it all the time, and life began to get back to normal. And all sports fans' dreams were about to come true. The start of the NHL, NBA, and MLB seasons were just a few days away, but not to be the same as before. The NHL was no different, but if you're watching this right now, this is old news to you. You know about the bubble, you know about the new protocols, and you know about the whole new playoff bracket, which included 24 teams and a play-in format. This meant that teams who maybe didn't even have a chance at the Cup now did, and I believe that the Dallas Stars are one of those teams. And yes, I know the Stars weren't even a play-in team, but look back to before the season ended. Dallas was on a 6-game losing streak, and they were only 2 wins ahead of Nashville and finished 10th in the entire league. Those aren't the kind of characteristics of a team that you'd expect to see in the Stanley Cup Final. It's not like they had a great team with a bunch of really good players that were just having a tough time getting a win together towards the end of the season. Their team just wasn't that good, and isn't that good. And I will get back to this, don't worry, but if you're still watching this, hit that subscribe button. Even if you disagree with me, there's plenty of chance in the comments and everything like that for you to share your opinion. I'm going to try and build a really awesome community around Tic-Tac-Toe hockey. You know, I think that it'll be great to have like open discussions for everybody in the comments and stuff like that, and feature comments in videos, and maybe even have some subscribers on to hear their opinions. If you like hockey talk, if you want trade rumors, if you want to know the news, hit that subscribe button. But let's get back to the Dallas Stars and why they shouldn't be in the Stanley Cup Final. Yep, I said it, they aren't a good team. During the season, not a single player on their team had a point per game. Yes, that's a huge statistic. Almost every team has a top player who's right around a point per game. Maybe a few points less, but right around a point per game. The Stars not only didn't have a single player close to a point per game, they didn't have someone that was within 10 points of a point per game. Their top scorer, Tyler Seguin, had 50 points in 69 games this season. As you know, that's almost 20 points below a point per game. And if that isn't quite enough for you guys to understand how low scoring this Dallas Stars team is, if you were to add up their top 10 scores, Dallas Stars' top 10 scorers on their team this season, and compare that with their Stanley Cup competitor, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Stars have a whopping 176 fewer points. The Lightning had 503 points from their top 10 scorers, and the Stars only had 327. You would need almost 2 Connor McDavids to make up for that large of a point deficit. And some of you may think that stats like this don't always make up the whole story, but in this case, when you're looking at an entire third and the best third of a hockey team, it sure does. And yes, we all love underdog stories, but I don't even know if Dallas is an underdog team. They're just overrated. And sure, it's not always about points and stats, but let's take a look at the Stars' competition through this very unusual postseason. They played Calgary, a play-in team who barely edged a Winnipeg Jets team, missing 4 of their 5 best players. And this same Calgary team really struggling up front. The Stars barely managed to beat them and needed a full 7 games. Then they moved on to play Colorado, who were relying on Nathan MacKinnon to make up for their starting AHL goalie and a lack of NHL caliber defense. And you guessed it, it took them 7 games to win that one as well, and this time in overtime. So let's recap. They've played a Calgary team that can barely put the puck in the net. Their top scorers are struggling and needed 7 games. Then they barely beat the Avalanche, who have an AHL goalie in net and almost as bad defense. And it took them 7 games to win both series and overtime in the second one. But they did, and now it was time for a conference final where they were playing the Vegas Golden Knights, a team that just joined the league a few years ago. But I'll be honest, the Golden Knights are a great team, and this was probably their first real competition of the postseason. and they made that very obvious. The Stars were outshot in every game in that series except for the first, when the shots were tied. So that's right, the Stars never outshot Vegas, and it was only because of Hugh Dobin that Dallas is moving on to the Stanley Cup Final. And now here we are, awaiting the start of the finals. And I hope that if not by now, you will very soon see what I mean when Dallas loses in 4, 5, 6 games. There is no way that Dallas is winning the Stanley Cup this year. I obviously could be wrong, but that's just my opinion. And I want to hear yours in the comments down below. Make sure you leave your opinion, leave your comments, talk to other people in the comments section. Let's get a community going, a community of Tic-Tac-Toe hockey subscribers. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.